Come one, come all, and don't despair, your battle's almost won. By watching my short lessons here, you'll learn your training's fun. I'm Dr. Katie Bramlett, and in this episode of Ear Training for All Musicians, I'm going to show you how to find the rhythm or figure out the rhythm to a basic melody. So first, what you need to do when you're listening to a melody is find where is the pulse or where is the heartbeat of the music, okay? Then after that, you have to ask yourself, does this feel more march-like, more dance-like? How is the time being divided up, okay? So I'll play a basic melody for you and then show you kind of a shorthand way to get it written down so that you can figure it out. So here's our melody. Okay, one more time. Okay, so as you're listening to that melody, hopefully you can find the pulses here. Da, 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 da. Okay, that's one way to feel it, all right? Now, if this is our pulse, how do you feel the emphasis of the recurring groups or the measures of the music? Do you feel more groups of 2 or 3? Well, ask yourself, would it be easier to march to it or dance to it? So, da, 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 kind of has this square sort of feeling to it. That means that our beats are going to be recurring in groups of 2 or 4, okay? Something that was in groups of 3 would have more of a dance-like lilt to it. Da, 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 da. And this doesn't have that feeling to it at all. So I'll play the melody one more time. Okay, so here's a shorthand way of writing rhythm. You're going to use vertical lines to show where the pulses occur, okay? And then we're going to draw horizontal lines to show how the time is divided up. This is a technique called protonotation that is in a textbook called A Manual for Ear Training by an author with the last name Karpinski. I can include information about this book in the comments if you're interested in finding a copy of it. It's a great book for oral skills for ear training. So again, our melody, since I talked too much, I'll go ahead and play it again. Okay, so what you're going to do is as you sing the melody to yourself, either out loud or in your head, you're going to draw these vertical lines. Where you feel the beginning of a measure, you're going to do a larger or a longer vertical line, and then for the beats inside, you'll do shorter ones. For example, da 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 da, and then I always put a double bar at the end to show that that's the end. That's where the music itself ends. So I'll move this a little bit closer so you can see. Now for the horizontal lines that show how the beats or the time divides up between the pulses. Da 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 da. Okay, so it's as simple as that. If the note takes one beat, you just draw one dash between the vertical lines. If you sense that the beat is divided into 2 parts, well then you put 2 dashes. And then for notes that are longer, you just extend the line, okay? You want to be careful not to totally connect all the lines because then it would be hard to see what your rhythm is. Now, for converting this into actual rhythmic notation, you have to know first what type of note equals the beat. Well, most commonly, it's the quarter note that equals 1 beat. So I'll show us how to write that first, where 4 is the bottom number of the time signature. And here I've got it written as 2 beats per measure. So you can see big beat, or big pulse, and then our secondary or less strong pulse in between. So here's beat 1, here's beat 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So our time signature is going to be 2, 4. And then from there, you ask yourself for each beat that goes by, how is it divided up? So what kind of note value would you need? Well, a quarter note equals 1, where 4 is the bottom number of the time signature. So I'll do a quarter note for the first note. And then a quarter note divided into 2 parts, well, that's going to be 2/8 notes. So I'll do 2/8 notes. And the notes that I'm drawing here right now don't really represent pitch. It's just rhythm. And that's what these 2 vertical lines are here. This is just a rhythm clef. So it means no pitch, just rhythm. Then we'll draw a bar line. Our next note takes the whole measure. So that's a quarter plus a quarter is a half note. So we'll do that. Bar line. The next beat is divided into 2 equal parts. So we'll do 2/8 notes. Then a quarter note here. And then the last measure has a half note. Okay? So the rhythm we would count 1, 2, and 1, 1 and 2, 1. Okay? So the cool thing about this shorthand is that, first of all, it's a lot easier to get written down really quickly if you're trying to figure something out and you don't want to have to memorize it all forever. Then you can draw it out really quickly this way, and then later you could go back and write it out in rhythmic notation, which obviously has a lot more detail to it. So that's the basic way of figuring out the rhythm of a melody using proto-notation and then converting it. Now, we could take this same rhythmic example and convert it into a time signature where the bottom number is something else, okay? Let's take 2, for example. If you've ever heard of cut time or a la breve, that's what that is, kind of a half note beat feel. But for now, we'll do 2, 2. And so the bottom number is a 2, which means the half note now equals 1 beat. So now that means our first note would be a half note. And then for our divided beat, well, that's a half note divided into 2 parts. So that's 2 quarter notes. Then for a full measure, a half note plus a half note, that'll be a whole note, bar line, and then 2 quarters. Then a half note for the next, and then for the last measure, again, a whole note. So you'll see that all the proportions work out the same as they do here. It's just that we're dealing with a different unit of measurement. But the rhythm counts and performs the same way. So 1, 2, and 1, 1, and 2, 1. Okay? So that's another nice thing about this proto-notation is that you can easily convert it into time signatures with different units of measure or different beat units. So that's the basic kind of step-by-step for figuring out the rhythm of a basic melody. Remember, first you have to find the pulse, then you have to figure out how many beats per measure, and finally you figure out how the time is divided up inside the measure. So try it with some melodies that you already know, familiar tunes like, I don't know, Jingle Bells or Mary Had a Little Lamb or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, anything like that, or any other tune. And if you find a melody that you want to figure out the rhythm and you want me to check it, comment and contact me that way and I can help you out.